Commander Jiwoo Nam stood at the tall windows of the Earth Defense Station watching the stars. She had been doing this every morning for 3 years. The view never changed, but she knew that somewhere out there, huge alien ships moved between the stars, ships that belonged to the Terran Empire. The Empire was big, really big. It controlled over 800 different alien species across 3 parts of the galaxy. Their ships could destroy planets. Their armies had never lost a war. For 200 years they had taken whatever they wanted from whoever they wanted. But they had never come to Earth. Jiwoo touched the glass with her finger. Earth was in something called the Forbidden Zone, 12 star systems that the Empire had never touched. The aliens knew humans were here. They just did not care enough to bother with them. "Commander Nam," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Dr. Minho Park walking toward her. He looked tired. He always looked tired these days. "Good morning, Doctor," Jiwoo said. "How are the tests going?" Minho rubbed his eyes. "We finished testing the new devices last night. They work, but I am still worried." Jiwoo nodded. She understood his worry. For the past 10 years, Dr. Park had been studying alien technology, not to copy it, but to find its weak spots. What he had found scared everyone who knew about it. They walked together down the long hallway. The defense station was built inside a huge asteroid. It was hidden and protected. Most humans did not even know it existed. Only the people who worked on the most secret projects came here. "Admiral Kim wants to see us," Minho said. "He got new reports from our spy ships." Admiral Seo Kim was waiting for them in the main control room. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been planning Earth's defense for longer than anyone else. The walls around him were covered with screens showing star maps and alien ship movements. "Sit down," Admiral Kim said. "We have a problem." Hana Lee, the intelligence officer, stepped forward. She was young but very smart. She spent her days listening to alien radio signals and trying to understand what the Empire was planning. "The Empire is having money problems," Hana said. "Their outer colonies are running out of resources. They need new places to mine and new planets to control." Admiral Kim pointed to a big screen. It showed a map of nearby space. Earth was a small blue dot in the middle. Around it were red dots showing Empire territories. 3 days ago, Emperor Valdris called a meeting with his top people, the Admiral said. "They talked about finally taking our space." Jiwoo felt her stomach get tight. They had always known this day might come. But knowing something might happen and having it actually happen were very different things. "What did they decide?" she asked. "Nothing yet," Hana said. "But Trade Minister Gavron wants to attack us soon. He says humans have valuable metals and minerals. Military advisor Thex thinks we are not worth the trouble." Dr. Minho Park leaned forward. "How much time do we have?" "Maybe weeks, maybe months, but not years," Admiral Kim said. "We need to be ready." The Admiral pressed a button. The screen changed to show pictures of Empire ships. They were huge and scary. Each one could carry thousands of soldiers and had weapons that could break moons in half. "They have been watching us for 50 years, Admiral Kim continued. "To them, we are just primitive humans who barely learned how to travel between stars. They think we have small ships and weak weapons." "They are right," Jiwoo said. "We do. Have small ships and weak weapons. But we have something else," Dr. Minho Park said quietly. "We understand how their technology really works." He stood up and walked to another screen. This one showed a complicated diagram that looked like a spider web made of light. "The Empire is huge," Minho explained. "They control thousands of worlds across 3 parts of the galaxy. How do you think they keep it all working together?" "Fast communication," Hana said. "Their messages travel faster than light." "Exactly. They use something called quantum entanglement. It lets them talk to any part of their empire instantly. Their computers are all connected in one big network. Every ship, every planet, every space station." Jiwoo was starting to understand. "And you found a way to break their network?" Minho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "Better than that, I found a way to make their network destroy itself." Admiral Kim activated another screen. This one showed test results and numbers that Jiwoo did not understand. Dr. Park discovered that their quantum network has a weakness, the Admiral explained. If you send the right kind of interference signal into it, the interference spreads, like a virus but for computers. How fast does it spread? Jiwoo asked. Very fast, Minho said. In our tests, we could crash a small network in minutes. A big network like theirs, maybe hours or days. But there is a problem, Admiral Kim said. Once we start this, we cannot stop it. The interference will keep spreading until their entire network is destroyed. That means their whole civilization could collapse. Jiwoo felt cold. How many people would die? Billions, Minho said softly. Maybe trillions. When their computers stop working, life support systems will fail. Food distribution will stop. Transportation will break down. The room was quiet for a long time. Jiwoo looked at the star map again. All those red dots represented worlds full of living beings. Most of them had never done anything wrong. They were just part of an empire they had no choice about joining. Is there another way? She asked. We have been looking for 50 years, Admiral Kim said. If we fight them with normal weapons, we lose. Their ships are too big and too strong. This is the only way to protect Earth. Hana brought up another screen. There is more bad news. Our spy ships report that Fleet Admiral Corvin is preparing a large attack force, 200 big warships and 500 smaller ones. When? Jiwoo asked. Soon. Maybe next month. Dr. Minho Park gathered his papers. I need to get back to the lab. We have to finish building the quantum disruptors. How many do we need? Admiral Kim asked. At least 50. We have to place them around Empire space before we activate them. If we miss too many spots, their network might be able to fix itself. Jiwoo stood up. What do you need from me, Admiral? Get your ships ready, Commander. When the time comes, your people will have to carry the disruptors deep into Empire territory. It will be very dangerous. My people are ready, Jiwoo said. We have been ready for years. As they left the meeting room, Jiwoo thought about her crew. Good people who trusted her to make the right choices. Soon she would have to ask them to risk their lives to save Earth, and if they succeeded, they would be responsible for destroying an entire civilization. But what choice did they have? The Empire had conquered 800 species. They had never lost a war. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who stood in their way. Now they wanted Earth. Jiwoo looked out at the stars one more time. Somewhere out there, Emperor Valdris was deciding whether to destroy her world. Soon she might have to decide whether to destroy his. The Forbidden Zone had protected humanity for 200 years, but that protection was about to end. Emperor Valdris sat on his golden throne and looked at the hologram floating in front of him. The image showed a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star. Earth, home to the humans. The throne room was huge and filled with representatives from dozens of alien species. All of them served the Empire. All of them feared the Emperor. He was not the biggest or strongest being in the room, but his word was law across 3 parts of the galaxy. Trade Minister Gavron, the Emperor said, tell me again why we need this human space. Gavron stepped forward. He was tall and thin with gray skin and 4 arms. Your Majesty, our outer colonies are struggling. We need new sources of rare metals. The human territory has rich asteroid fields and unexplored planets. Military Advisor Thex, the Emperor continued. What do you think? Thex was shorter, but much wider than Gavron. His species had tough armor-like skin. Your Majesty, the humans are not a threat. But taking their space will require ships and soldiers. We might need those forces elsewhere. The Emperor looked at the hologram again. Intelligence reports said humans had only been traveling between stars for 50 years. Their largest ships were smaller than Empire patrol boats. Their weapons were basic energy beams and simple missiles. How long would it take, he asked. 1 week, Your Majesty, said Fleet Admiral Corvin. Maybe less. I will bring enough ships to surround all their worlds at once. They will surrender quickly. The Emperor made his decision. Do it. Send the fleet. Bring me the human leaders so they can surrender properly. Fleet Admiral Corvin bowed. It will be done, Your Majesty. 3 weeks later, the largest fleet in Empire history moved toward human space. 200 giant warships led the way. Each one was over 2 miles long and carried enough weapons to destroy a city. Behind them came 500 smaller ships and 50 troop transports filled with soldiers. Admiral Corvin stood on the bridge of his command ship, the Imperial Fist. Through the large windows, he could see dozens of other ships flying in perfect formation. Their quantum communication network kept all the ships connected and coordinated. "Sir," said his communication officer, "we are approaching the edge of human space." "Any signs of their fleet?" Corvin asked. "A few small ships, sir. They appear to be running away." Corvin smiled. "Of course they are. Scan their worlds. I want to know which one is their capital." Meanwhile on Earth, Admiral Seok Kim watched the approaching Empire fleet on his screens. The ships looked like moving stars, but he knew each dot represented enough firepower to level a planet. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Commander Jiwoo Nam. She was standing beside him in the command center, watching the same screens. "Dr. Park, are your devices ready?" Admiral Kim asked. Dr. Minho Park nodded. "All 50 quantum disruptors are built and tested. Captain Choi's ships are loading them now." Captain Woo Jin Choi was in charge of the secret mission. His ship, Soul's Pride, was fast and hard to detect. It had been specially built for sneaking into enemy territory. "The Empire fleet will be here in 6 hours," Admiral Kim said. "We need to start placing the disruptors now before they get too close." Jiwoo felt nervous. "Are we really going to do this? Once we start, we cannot take it back." "The Empire has conquered 800 species," Admiral Kim said quietly. "They do not give people choices, they take what they want. If we do not stop them, they will take Earth too." Captain Choi's voice came through the radio. "Admiral, we are ready to launch. Engineer Yuna Song has checked all the disruptors. They are working perfectly." "Go," Admiral Kim said, "and be careful." Soul's Pride and 12 other human ships disappeared into space. They moved fast and stayed hidden, using routes that avoided Empire patrol ships. Each ship carried several quantum disruptors and had orders to place them near important Empire installations. The disruptors looked like pieces of space junk, old metal boxes with simple antennas. The Empire scanners would not notice them among all the real debris floating around space stations and mining planets. Yuna Song had designed them to be very hard to detect. "They just sit there and wait," she had explained. "When we send the activation signal, they start producing quantum interference. The interference spreads through the Empire's network like a disease." Captain Choi's ship reached its first target, a large Empire space station that controlled shipping in 3-star systems. Yuna deployed the disruptor carefully, making it look like a piece of broken satellite. "First one is in place," she reported, moving to target 2. On the Empire flagship, Admiral Corvin received reports from his scouts. "Sir, the human ships are retreating toward their home planet. No signs of resistance." "Perfect," Corvin said. "These humans are smarter than I thought. They know they cannot win." But the humans were not retreating. They were implementing Operation Cascade. While the Empire fleet moved slowly toward Earth, human ships were placing disruptors throughout Empire space, near communication hubs, close to military bases, around the quantum relay stations that kept the Empire's network running. Dr. Sun Ho Yoon monitored the operation from Earth. He was Dr. Park's assistant and understood the quantum network better than anyone, except Dr. Park himself. 30 disruptors are in place, he reported. 20 more to go. "How much time do we have?" Admiral Kim asked. "The Empire fleet will reach Earth in 4 hours, Hana Lee said. "Captain Choi needs at least 2 more hours to finish placing the devices." It was going to be close. Lieutenant Deon-Oh was on one of the furthest missions. Her small ship had to travel deep into Empire territory to place disruptors near their core communication systems. These were the most important targets because they connected the Emperor's palace to the rest of the Empire. "This is Daeun," she whispered into her radio. "I can see the capital system. There are hundreds of Empire ships here. Can you get close to the relay stations? Captain Choi asked. I think so. They are not expecting anyone to attack here. Dayun's ship was tiny compared to the Empire vessels around her. She flew carefully between them, pretending to be a maintenance worker or cargo hauler. Her ship's identification codes were fake, but they looked real enough to fool automatic scanners. She reached the first relay station and deployed her disruptor, then the second station. The third one was harder to reach because it was heavily guarded, but she managed to get close enough. All devices placed in the capital system, she reported. Heading home. Back on Earth, Admiral Kim watched the countdown. Timer. 2 hours until the Empire fleet arrived. Dr. Park was making final checks on the activation system. Once we turn these on, the interference will spread throughout their entire network, Dr. Park explained. Their ships will lose communication with each other. Their planets will lose contact with the capital. Everything connected to their quantum network will start failing. How long before the effect reaches their fleet? Jiwoo asked. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. The interference has to travel through their network. Major Yoonbi John was in charge of Earth's ground defenses. What if some of their ships are not affected? What if they can still attack us? Then we fight them the old way, Admiral Kim said. But our ships are small and theirs are huge. We probably cannot win a normal battle. The last human ships returned from their missions. Captain, Choi reported that all 50 disruptors were in place and working. Now came the hardest part. Waiting. Empire Admiral Corvin looked at Earth growing larger on his screen. It was a pretty planet with blue oceans and white clouds. Soon it would belong to the Empire, like all the other worlds they had conquered. Sir, his communication officer said, the humans are broadcasting a message. Put it on screen. Admiral Kim's face appeared on the Empire ship's monitors. This is Admiral Seok Kim of the Earth Defense Force. You are entering our space without permission. Turn around and leave or face the consequences. Corvin laughed. Send a reply. Tell them they have 1 hour to surrender, or we will take their planet by force. But Admiral Kim had already cut the transmission. On Earth, he was standing next to Dr. Park at the activation controls. All ships are in position, Jiwoo reported. Ground defenses are ready. Dr. Park's hand was on the activation switch. Once I press this, everything changes. Are we sure this is the only way? Admiral Kim looked at the screens showing the massive Empire fleet. Nearly 1,000 ships, each one capable of destroying cities. An enemy that had never lost a war and never showed mercy. Press it, he said. Dr. Park pressed the switch. Across Empire space, 50 small devices began producing quantum interference. The signals were tiny at first, but they were designed to grow and spread, like seeds planted in fertile ground. The Empire was about to discover that their greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. The first signs were small. So small that nobody in the Empire noticed them at first. On the Empire's capital world, Trade Minister Gavron was reviewing financial reports when his computer screen flickered. The numbers disappeared for a second, then came back. He frowned and pressed a button to call technical support. Technical support is currently experiencing delays, a recorded voice said. Please wait. Gavron waited and waited. After 10 minutes, he gave up and tried to access the financial network directly, but the system was slow, very slow. What normally took seconds was taking minutes. 3 systems away, a cargo ship captain named Vex was trying to contact the port authority on Kalos Station. His radio crackled with static. Kalos Station, this is cargo ship Profit Maker. Requesting docking permission. The reply came back garbled and delayed. Cargo ship, experiencing difficulties. Please. Kalos Station, please repeat. I did not understand. But there was no reply. Just static. On the Empire flagship Imperial Fist, Admiral Corvin was studying tactical displays when his communication officer approached. Sir, we are having some problems with the quantum network. Messages from Fleet Command are arriving late. How late? Corvin asked. About 30 seconds, sir. Not serious, but unusual. Corvin shrugged. Probably just traffic congestion. We have a lot of ships in this area. But on Earth, Dr. Sun Ho-yoon was watching the interference patterns spread through the Empire's network. What started as 50 tiny signals was growing into something much bigger. The quantum interference is spreading faster than we predicted, he told Dr. Minho Park. Look at these readings. Dr. Park studied the data. The interference was not just spreading, it was multiplying. Each Empire system that tried to filter out the interference created more interference. The network was trying to fix itself, but every fix made the problem worse. It is like a fire, Dr. Park said. The more fuel you give it, the bigger it gets. And their network is the fuel. Admiral Seok Kim watched the Empire fleet on his screens. The ships were still moving toward Earth, but their formation was becoming sloppy. Ships that should have been flying in perfect lines were drifting apart. Something is happening to them, Commander Jiwoo Nam observed. Their coordination is breaking down. 1 hour after activation, the problems became impossible to ignore. Emperor Valdris was in his throne room when the palace lights flickered. The holographic displays that showed him reports from across the Empire started showing error messages instead of data. What is happening? He demanded. Your Majesty, said his chief technician, we are experiencing network difficulties. The quantum communication system is malfunctioning. Fix it, the Emperor ordered. We are trying, Your Majesty, but the problem seems to be spreading. On board the Imperial Fist, Admiral Corvin was getting angry. Half his fleet was no longer responding to orders. The ships were still there, but their communication systems were failing one by one. Sir, his tactical officer reported, Ship Group 7 has lost contact with us. Their last message was garbled. What about Group 12? Same problem, sir. And Group 3 is reporting computer malfunctions. Corvin realized something was very wrong. Get me a direct radio link to Ship Group 7. Use the emergency frequencies. But the radio message that came back was confused and frightened. Admiral, our navigation computers are giving us wrong information. We do not know where we are supposed to be. Lieutenant Daeun-oh was still hiding in Empire space, watching the chaos unfold around her. The busy traffic control center near the capital had gone quiet. Ships were flying in random directions because they could not get proper navigation data. She sent a coded message back to Earth. The effect is working better than expected. Empire ships are losing coordination rapidly. Back on her home planet, Dr. Sun Ho-yoon was amazed by what he was seeing. The interference is not just blocking their communications, he explained to the command staff. It is corrupting their data. Every computer in their network is getting wrong information. Admiral Kim leaned forward. What kind of wrong information? Navigation data that sends ships to the wrong places, financial records that show impossible numbers, military orders that contradict each other. Their computers are still working, but they are not giving correct information. The quantum interference was like a disease that changed everything it touched. When an Empire computer tried to send a message saying attack target A, the interference might change it to attack target B, or retreat immediately, or all systems shut down. Trade Minister Gavron was discovering this problem personally. His financial networks were showing that the Empire's treasury contained negative money. According to the computers, they owed more money than existed in the entire galaxy. This cannot be right, he told his assistants. Run the calculations again. But every time they checked, the numbers got worse. The computers were so confused that they were creating imaginary debts and impossible expenses. On military planets across the Empire, automated defense systems were starting to activate randomly. Missile batteries that were supposed to protect bases were turning toward the bases they were supposed to defend. General Thax was at his command post on Fortress Omega when the base defense grid suddenly targeted his own headquarters. Sir, his aide shouted, the defense computers are locked onto us. Override them, Thax ordered. I cannot, sir. The computers think we are enemy ships. Major Yunbi John, monitoring the situation from Earth, reported what she was seeing. Empire military. Bases are attacking themselves. Their computers cannot tell the difference between friends and enemies anymore. The quantum interference was growing stronger every hour. Dr. Park had designed it to multiply and spread, and it was working exactly as planned. But even he was surprised by how fast it was happening. We estimated it would take days to affect their entire network, he told Admiral Kim. But it is happening in hours. Captain Woo Jin Choi was leading a small group of human ships to help evacuate Empire civilians from planets where life support systems were failing. It was dangerous work, because some Empire ships were still working normally, and they might attack, but most Empire ships were too confused to be dangerous. Choi watched a huge Empire battleship flying in circles because its navigation computer thought it was supposed to orbit a star that was actually 3 systems away. "This is sad," Engineer Unisong said. "Look at them. They built this amazing network that let them control the whole galaxy. Now it is destroying them." "They should have been more careful," Choi replied. "Any system that big and complicated was bound to have weaknesses. Emperor Valdris was learning this lesson the hard way. Reports from across his empire were getting worse every hour. Planets were going dark as their communication systems failed. Trade routes that had worked for centuries were shutting down as cargo ships got lost or received wrong instructions." "How many systems are affected?" he asked. "About 60%, and growing, Your Majesty," his aide replied. "The problem started small, but it keeps spreading." "What about our fleet near Earth?" "Admiral Corvin's last message was 3 hours ago. We have not heard from him since." On the Imperial Fist, Admiral Corvin was dealing with total chaos. Most of his ships were now flying randomly through space. Some had turned around and were heading back toward Empire territory. Others were trying to attack each other because their computers identified friendly ships as enemies. "Sir," his communication officer said, "I am getting strange messages from Fleet Command. They are ordering us to attack ourselves." Corvin looked at the message on his screen. According to the computer, he was supposed to fire all weapons at his own ship immediately. "Ignore all messages from Fleet Command," he ordered. "Use only visual signals and direct radio contact." But it was too late for most of his fleet. The quantum interference had spread through their entire network. Ships that had been perfectly coordinated a few hours ago were now completely lost and confused. Dr. Minho Park watched the data streaming in from across Empire space. The interference was affecting everything connected to their network, not just military ships and communication systems, but also power plants, water treatment facilities, food distribution centers, and medical equipment. "Admiral," he said quietly, "I think we may have gone too far." Admiral Kim looked at him. "What do you mean?" "The Empire's civilian population is starting to suffer. Their basic services are failing. People are going to die." Admiral Kim was quiet for a moment. Then he looked at the screens showing the Empire fleet. Most of the ships were no longer moving toward Earth. They were drifting aimlessly or flying in random directions. "The Empire has conquered 800 species," he said finally. "How many people died in those conquests? How many more would die if they conquered Earth?" Dr. Park nodded sadly. "I know, but I still feel responsible for what is happening to them." Commander Jiwoo Nam spoke up. "Maybe we can help them. Once they are no longer a threat, we can try to fix some of the damage." "If we can," Dr. Park said. "The interference is spreading, faster than we expected. It might be too late to stop it." The quantum fire was burning across 3 parts of the galaxy, consuming the very network that had made the Empire strong. And like any fire, it was starting to burn out of control. The Empire was eating itself alive. Emperor Valdris stood in his throne room watching his civilization collapse in real time. The grand displays that once showed him reports from 800 worlds now showed only error messages and chaos. "Your Majesty," his chief advisor whispered, "the palace defense grid has activated against us. The computers think we are invaders." Through the tall windows, Valdris could see his own defensive weapons turning toward the palace. Laser batteries that had protected his throne for 2 centuries were now pointing at his home. "How is this possible?" he asked. "The quantum interference has corrupted everything, Your Majesty. Our computers cannot tell who is friend and who is enemy. On the mining planet Kepler 7, automated systems were going insane. Giant machines that had dug valuable metals for decades suddenly stopped following their programming. Some machines turned around and started filling in the holes they had spent years digging. Others began attacking each other with their drilling equipment. Foreman Grek watched in horror as a massive mining robot picked up another robot and threw it into a processing plant. Sparks and metal fragments flew everywhere. "Shut them down," Grek shouted to his workers. "Manual override." But the override controls were connected to the same quantum network that was causing the problems. Every time they tried to stop a machine, the corrupted system started 2 more machines. "Run," Grek yelled. "Everyone get away from the machines." The miners scattered as their own equipment turned against them. Admiral Siok Kim received reports from human observers throughout Empire space. The news was getting worse every hour. 73 planets have lost main power, Hana Lee reported. Life support is failing on 16 space stations. The Empire's food distribution network has completely shut down. Captain Woojin Choi was leading rescue missions to help Empire civilians, but there were too many emergencies and not enough human ships to help everyone. "We just evacuated a medical station," he reported. Their life support computers started pumping poison gas instead of oxygen. 200 patients barely escaped. Dr. Minho Park felt sick listening to these reports. He had created the quantum interference to stop the Empire's military, but it was hurting innocent people too. "Is there any way to control it?" Admiral Kim asked. "Can we stop the interference from spreading to civilian systems?" "No," Dr. Park said sadly. "The Empire built everything on the same network. Military, civilian, everything. When we attacked their network, we attacked their entire civilization." Dr. Sun Ho-yoon was studying the interference patterns on his computer. "It is getting worse," he said. "The interference is not just spreading anymore. It is evolving." "What do you mean?" Dr. Park asked. "Look at these readings. The interference signals are becoming more complex. They are adapting to the Empire's attempts to filter them out." This was something Dr. Park had not expected. The quantum interference was supposed to be simple chaos, but now it was behaving like something intelligent, learning how to attack the Empire's network more effectively. On the Empire capital world, Trade Minister Gavron was dealing with economic disaster. The financial computers had decided that every citizen owed the government 1 trillion credits. They were automatically taking money from people's accounts to pay these imaginary debts. "People are rioting in the streets," his assistant reported. "They cannot buy food because the computers say they have negative money." "Reset the financial system," Gavron ordered. "We tried, sir. But every time we reset it, the interference creates new problems. Now the computers think some people own multiple planets and others own negative planets." Fleet Admiral Corvin was trying to maintain control of what remained of his fleet, but it was hopeless. Most of his ships were lost in space following navigation data that sent them nowhere. Others had turned around and were accidentally attacking Empire worlds because their computers identified friendly planets as enemy targets. "Sir," his communication officer said, "Ship Group 9 is requesting permission to surrender." "Surrender to whom?" Corvin asked. "To themselves, sir. Their computers think they are at war with their own crew." Corvin closed his eyes. His great invasion fleet had been destroyed without the humans firing a single shot. Worse than destroyed, his ships were now attacking the very Empire they were supposed to protect. Lieutenant Daino was still hidden in Empire space, watching the chaos spread. She had never seen anything like it. Entire star systems were going dark as their infrastructure failed. Ships flew in random directions or attacked each other. Space stations were evacuating because their life support systems had become unreliable. "Earth. Command," she transmitted. "The Empire's core systems are completely down. I am seeing ships firing on their own bases." "Any signs of recovery?" Admiral Kim asked. "No, sir. If anything, it is getting worse. The interference seems to be creating new problems faster than they can fix the old ones. On Empire worlds across the galaxy, ancient conflicts were reigniting. Species that had been forced to live together under Empire rule were now free to fight their old enemies. With central authority gone, there was nothing to stop them. The Zealand people attacked their Ketheran overlords on 17 worlds. The Voss declared independence and started shooting at any ship that tried to enter their space. 3 different species claimed ownership of the same mining system and began a 3-way war. Major Yunbi Jian was coordinating human rescue efforts, but the task was overwhelming. "We have refugee ships arriving from 12 different systems," she reported, "all requesting emergency assistance." "How many people?" Admiral Kim asked. "About 50,000 so far, but there are millions more who need help." The human fleet was small compared to the Empire's needs. Earth had maybe 200 ships total, while the Empire had tens of thousands of worlds. Even working constantly, the humans could only save a tiny fraction of the people who needed help. General Taewan Lim was dealing with a different problem. Some Empire military units were still functional and were trying to establish order through force, but without communication or coordination, they were often fighting each other instead of helping civilians. "We intercepted a transmission from Empire General Thax," he reported. "His forces are trying to secure their home system, but they think the invasion is still happening. They are preparing to attack Earth." "With what ships?" Commander Jiwoo Nam asked. "About 20 vessels that still have working computers. They are using short-range radio instead of the quantum network." Admiral Kim made a decision. "Send a squadron to intercept them. Use minimum force, but do not let them reach Earth." Captain Choi took 12 human ships to deal with the Empire vessels. When he found them, they were flying in a ragged formation toward Earth's solar system. Their ships were damaged and their crews looked desperate. "Empire vessels," Choi transmitted. "This is Captain Woo Jin Choi of Earth Defense. Turn around and return to your home territory." The reply came back angry and confused. "Human ships, you will surrender immediately. The Empire will not tolerate this attack on our network." "We are not attacking you," Choi said. "Your own computers are malfunctioning. We are trying to help your people." "Lies, prepare to be destroyed." The Empire ships opened fire, but their targeting systems were affected by interference from their own damaged network. Most of their shots missed completely. Choi's ships easily avoided the wild attacks and disabled the Empire vessels without destroying them. "Take their crews prisoner," Choi ordered. "Treat them well. They are victims of this situation, not enemies." Back on Earth, Dr. Park was working desperately to find a way to contain the quantum interference, but every solution he tried made the problem worse. "The interference has developed its own momentum," he explained to Admiral Kim. "It is no longer dependent on our original devices. Even if we destroyed all 50 disruptors, the interference would continue spreading." "How far will it spread?" "Maybe the entire galaxy. The Empire's network connects to trade routes and communication relays everywhere. If we cannot stop it, every quantum communication system in known space could be affected." Admiral Kim felt the weight of responsibility. They had saved Earth from conquest, but they might have doomed galactic civilization in the process. "Keep working on a solution," he told Dr. Park. "We have to find a way to stop this." Emperor Valdris made one last attempt to save his empire. He ordered all remaining ships to abandon quantum communication and use only basic radio and light signals. But it was too late. The interference had corrupted too many systems, and most of his forces could not receive the order. His last message to his surviving governors was simple: "Save who you can. The Empire is finished." The greatest civilization in galactic history was burning alive, consumed by its own complexity. And somewhere in space, 50 small devices continued broadcasting the signals that were tearing apart 300 years of imperial achievement. The fire was spreading faster than anyone could control it. 6 months later, the galaxy was a very different place. Emperor Valdris sat in a small room looking out at a single star. Not the magnificent throne room with its displays showing hundreds of worlds, but a simple chamber on a tiny space station. His mighty empire had been reduced to one star system, 3 planets, and perhaps 1,000,000 survivors. "Your former majesty," said the human woman who entered the room. She wore the uniform of something called the Galactic Reconstruction Initiative. "My name is Ambassador Jiyoung Shin." Valdris did not turn around. "Have you come to gloat?" "No," Jiyoung said quietly. "I have come to offer help." "Help?" Valdris laughed bitterly. You destroyed my empire. You killed billions of my people. What help could you possibly offer? Ji-young sat down across from him. We did not want this to happen. We only wanted to protect Earth by destroying everything else. The quantum interference got out of control. Dr. Minho Park has been working for months to find ways to contain it. We are helping rebuild basic services on over 200 worlds. Valdris finally looked at her. Why? Why help us after what we tried to do to you? Because you were right about one thing, Ji-young said. Billions of innocent people did die because of what we started. We cannot bring them back, but we can try to help the survivors. Across the galaxy, human ships were doing exactly that. General Taewon Lim was coordinating massive relief efforts. Teams of human engineers worked alongside alien technicians to rebuild power plants, water systems, and communication networks. But they were building them differently this time. Dr. Minho Park stood in a laboratory on the planet Kepler-7, the same world where mining robots had gone crazy 6 months ago. Now he was helping local engineers design new computer systems. No quantum networking, he explained to the alien engineers. Everything must be separate and independent. If one system fails, it cannot affect the others. The head engineer, a reptilian creature named Sek, looked skeptical. But quantum networks are so much faster and more efficient. Efficient, yes, Dr. Park agreed, but also dangerous. Look what happened to your empire. They made everything depend on one big network, and when that network failed, everything failed. Sek nodded slowly. You are saying we should accept slower communication to avoid total disaster? Exactly. Sometimes the safe way is better than the fast way. On Earth, Admiral Seok Kim was dealing with a very different kind of problem. Many alien species were asking to join something they called the Human Protectorate. They wanted Earth to rule them like the Empire had done. We do not want to rule anyone, Admiral Kim explained to a group of alien ambassadors. We want to help you rule yourselves. But without central authority there will be chaos, said Ambassador Vex, a tall, insect-like being. Already 3 wars have started between neighboring systems. Then we will help you prevent wars, Admiral Kim said. But we will not make your decisions for you. This was the principle behind the Terran Accords, the new agreement that was slowly bringing order to the post-Empire galaxy. Instead of one powerful ruler controlling everything, there would be many independent governments working together. Commander Jiwoo Nam was part of the team enforcing the Accords. Her job was to prevent any species from developing technology that could threaten galactic stability. We found another quantum communication network, she reported to Admiral Kim. The Zelons were trying to rebuild their old Empire-style systems. What did you do? We explained the dangers and helped them design a safer alternative. They were not happy, but they agreed to the limitations. The Accords were strict about technology. No species could build quantum networks larger than a single star system. No military force could control more than 50 worlds. Most importantly, any technology that affected multiple star systems had to be approved by the Terran Council. It was not a popular system. Many aliens thought the humans were being hypocritical, using their own advanced technology to prevent others from doing the same thing. Captain Woo Jin Choi often heard these complaints during his patrol missions. You humans have quantum disruptors that can destroy entire civilizations, an angry Catharan captain had told him. Why should we trust you to decide what technology is safe? Because we learned what happens when technology becomes too powerful, Choi had replied. We almost destroyed the galaxy by accident. We do not want anyone else to make the same mistake. Engineer Unisong was working on a different solution. She was part of a team trying to design safe quantum communication systems, networks that could provide fast communication without the risk of cascading failures. The key is isolation, she explained to a group of alien scientists. Each part of the network must be able to survive without the other parts. If one section fails, it cannot spread the failure to other sections. It was slow work. The new systems were much less efficient than the old Empire network had been, but they were also much safer. Dr. Sun Ho Yoon had discovered something interesting about the quantum interference that had destroyed the Empire. It is still out there, he told Dr. Park, but it is changing. Changing how? It seems to be learning. The interference patterns are becoming more stable. In some areas, they are actually helping to maintain basic communication. Dr. Park was fascinated. Are you saying the interference is evolving into something useful? Maybe. It might take decades to understand fully, but the quantum chaos we created might eventually become a new kind of network, one that cannot be controlled by any single government. This possibility excited some people and terrified others. A quantum network that belonged to no one could provide free communication across the galaxy, but it could also be used by criminals, rebels, or anyone else who wanted to avoid government oversight. Lieutenant Deono, now promoted to captain, was investigating reports of pirates using the quantum interference to hide their activities. They have figured out how to mask their ships in the interference patterns, she reported. We can track them, but it is much harder. The galaxy was slowly learning to live with the consequences of the Empire's fall. Some changes were good. Many species that had been oppressed under Empire rule were now free to develop their own cultures. Other changes were bad. Without central authority, crime and conflict had increased in many areas. But perhaps the most important change was in how people thought about technology. Ambassador Jiyoung Shin was meeting with representatives from dozens of worlds to discuss the final version of the Terran Accords. The document would govern technological development for generations to come. We propose a simple principle, she told the assembled delegates. No technology should be so powerful that its failure can destroy civilization. No network should be so large that its corruption can cause galactic chaos. But this will slow down our development, protested the representative from Kalos Station. We could advance much faster if we were allowed to build large quantum networks. Yes, Jiyoung agreed. It will slow down development. That is the point. The Empire developed very fast, and that speed created the vulnerability that destroyed them. Major Yunbi-John, now a colonel, was in charge of monitoring compliance with the Accords. Her teams had prevented 6 attempts to build forbidden technology and stopped 3 wars between alien species. Some worlds are calling us the New Empire, she reported to Admiral Kim. They say we are controlling the galaxy just like the Kitharans did. Are we? Admiral Kim asked. I do not think so, Yunbi said. The Empire ruled through force and fear. We are trying to rule through cooperation and safety, but the result is similar. We are making decisions for other people. Admiral Kim was getting old. The stress of rebuilding the galaxy was wearing on him. Maybe that is necessary, he said. Someone has to make sure this never happens again. But what happens when we are gone? Who will enforce the Accords when there are no more humans to watch over the galaxy? It was a good question. The humans had taken responsibility for preventing another Empire-style disaster, but they could not watch over the galaxy forever. Dr. Minho Park had been thinking about this problem too. We need to make safety automatic, he told his research team. We cannot depend on human oversight forever. The technology itself must be designed to prevent misuse. His new project was ambitious, creating computer systems that would refuse to participate in dangerous configurations, networks that would shut themselves down rather than grow too large or too complex. It is like giving computers a conscience, Unisong observed. Exactly, Dr. Park said. If we cannot trust people to use technology safely, maybe we can trust the technology to protect itself. On the former capital world of the Empire, a monument had been built in the center of the old palace district. It was simple, just a black stone with names carved into it. Billions of names. All the people who had died when the Empire's network collapsed. At the base of the monument, a simple plaque read, "The price of complexity." Let us never forget. Emperor Valdris visited the monument sometimes. He was no longer an emperor, just an old man trying to understand how his mighty civilization had destroyed itself. We thought we were so advanced, he told Ambassador Jiyoung during one of her visits. We controlled hundreds of worlds. We had technology that seemed like magic, but we were actually very fragile. All civilizations are fragile, Ji-young replied.